Some concerns over Boston College's offensive line. I think they're going to be totally fine in 2025.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade, and I'm here to give you all the news, analysis, and details on the Boston College Eagles that you need in a daily Boston College podcast format. Thank you all for joining us today. On today's show, we have a packed episode. I'm going to give you 2 game predictions for the 2025 season. We're going to look at 3 receiver and tight end predictions. What am I thinking is going to happen? I'll explain there. And the offensive line, there's questions about, but I have 3 other predictions for that you're going to want to hear as well. Now, let's kick this off by talking about the offensive line. On Eagle Insider, I did something crazy. I made 40 predictions for this upcoming season. Not all of them are positive, so if you want to check those up there on Eagle Insider, today I'm going to give you 8 of them. I'm going to give you a fifth of what I came up with. But I think you're going to enjoy this when we talk about the offensive line. Now, 3 offensive linemen from Boston College's past year are gone. 2 of them are drafted. Bill O'Brien loves to say the third has been drafted as well, Jack Conley, because he got such a great undrafted free agent deal from the Patriots. He calls it basically being drafted by the Pats. So a lot of snaps that they're going to have to replace. And so, the worries about this offensive line, I get. There's a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder from the 2022 season when you threw a whole bunch of guys that hadn't played onto an offensive line and expected them to play with a new offensive line coach, Dave DeGuglielmo, who was a disaster. And it was a mess, a complete mess. So folks are worried that that's going to happen again. I want to say, first of all, that's not going to happen. It's not. This group is much more talented than they were in 2022. And yes, I know Ozzie Trapilo and Drew Kendall and Jack Conley were all part of that group, but they were all younger players. There's 3 guys I want to talk about and predictions I'm going to make here. My first official prediction is about Jude Bowry. I think Jude Bowry is, as long as he can stay healthy, is going to be one of the best tackles in the ACC this upcoming season. He is physical. He is getting scouts everywhere are starting to notice him. If you look at mock drafts, it's not just guys making up mock drafts. There's some really, I think it was Dane Brugler that put it out, had a mock draft on him that had him in the first round. And another one I saw had him in, the top 15 underclassmen that could go in the draft because scouts are watching him and saying, this is a big dude that can move, is strong, he's physical, he's violent, he's doing everything. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be really good. So I'm thinking this could be the breakout year for Jude Bowry. And I saw someone compare this, that if he takes that big step up, he will be the rock that Ozzie Trapilo was last year. So you're not going to lose much because you have Bowry, as long as he does that, and this is my prediction, he will, you have a rock on your offensive line, and he is going to be a major factor. So I'm saying first team All-American, not All-American, All-ACC for Jude Bowry. First team All-ACC. And I think that is going to be a major shot in the arm. So that's my first prediction on the offensive line. My second one is going to dive down into the depth chart a little bit more. I'm going to say that Ryan McGow, I think he's a redshirt sophomore this year, he will start at least one game this year. I don't think he's going to be the starter. If I was a betting man, I think it's going to be Kevin Klein, who Bill O'Brien loves, and Jude Bowry at tackle. But I think McGow, there will be a time where he's going to play. And I don't know if it's going to be injury or something happens, but I predict he's going to play because when it comes to 2026, McGow's going to be one of your starting offensive tackles. There's a lot of excitement about this kid. This is a kid that during camp looked really good. And I thought during the Pinstripe Bowl played exceptionally well. I thought he really showed that he deserved to be out there and that he could be the future of that position. But giving you another year is not a bad thing. I think this is the year where you start to see him play, whether it's kind of that Jack Conley role where, he's the sixth offensive lineman at times and comes in at different points. You could see him doing some of that. But the bigger point is I think he's going to start at points too. I think you're going to see him come in. I think you're going to have, whether, one of the guys gets banged up, he's going to have to come in. That's going to happen. That's my second prediction on the offensive line. And my third prediction is something my everydayers heard on Monday's show when I was talking about some of the camp battles that were going on. My prediction for the offensive line is that you're going to have your Kevin Klein and Jude Bowry as your two tackles. We're going to have Logan Taylor as a guard. My big prediction, though, dovetails on what I talked about on Monday, which is that Tommy Matheson will be the starting center with Dwayne Alec kicking over to guard. That, I think, would be a sweet spot for Boston College's offensive line, because what you really want on an offensive line is experience, because that's what 2022 was a disaster, was because no one on that line had any experience. So you just had everyone just kind of flailing around trying to figure things out with an offensive line coach that was also flailing around trying to figure things out. If you put Tommy Matheson out there with Dwayne Alec, you have 5 offensive linemen with pretty significant experience. They're all upperclassmen. Kevin Klein doesn't have the most experience, but he's played for years. He's been part of Matt Applebaum's system for years. That, I think, is the sweet spot. I think you put Matheson out there, a guy that started for a long time at Princeton. You put Alec at guard. You get both of those guys out there. Now, Eric Dougherty, he could win the camp battle. It could happen. Who knows? My gut tells me, my predictions tell me, Matheson at center, Dwayne Alec at guard. Then you get your 5 out there. You can use Dougherty for different things, elsewhere with that roster. But that's my prediction. So 3 offensive line predictions right there. Do you have ones that maybe you disagree with me on? Hit me up in the comment section. I really want to hear what you want to say. But before I hit this next segment, again, I really do think Boston College's offensive line will be be solid this year. Will it be exceptional? Kind of depends on how good Jude Bowry can get and a healthy Logan Taylor can be. If that happens, yeah, they could be as good as last year. But I think what people are worried about, I think that's a little bit. I'm not on board with that. I think they're going to be better than people are expecting. So that's my thoughts on the offensive line. In a moment, let's kick it over to the receivers and the tight ends. I have a three pack of predictions that I want to make about how they're going to play, and some statistical gems that I came up with that I think are going to happen this season. I'll get into all that in just a moment. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. The Red Sox are on a 10-game winning streak. They're the hottest team in Major League Baseball. Are you feeling good about them continuing that hot streak coming out of the All-Star break? You can find the latest odds on FanDuel. Make sure you check that out. Now, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5, and they're going to get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. It's easy to use, it's fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So open up the FanDuel app today, or visit FanDuel.com to get yourself started. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. And everydayers out there, we are getting ready for camp. It's only a couple weeks away. Next week is ACC Media Day. I am so excited to start getting into really the nitty-gritty of football, to hear more from the coaches, the players, to get past this the quieter months. July and June is so quiet when it comes to football news. I think it's all going to start kicking up soon. And so you need to make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button on Locked On BC so you get all 5 shows every week directly to your YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, the receiver room, this is the group that I am highest on this year. I think there's a lot of talent in that group. And so I made a bunch of predictions for BC football. And there was a few for the receivers that I came up with. And I want to give those to you right now. First, and this is one of my statistical predictions, and it has to do with Lewis Bond. I believe that Lewis Bond will be in the top 3 in the ACC in receptions. Now, he was number 5 last year. He had 68, I think it was. I'm pulling it up right now. He had 67 receptions, and he was number 5. He had 67 receptions for 689 yards. So, honestly, having him jump that far wouldn't be that much of a leap. I just think when you have a passing offense that is going to be more consistent than it was last year, when you had games where it just wasn't working, I think Lewis Bond can have a big year. Now, the only reason I think he's only going to go up a little bit is, I've said this before, this year more than last year, BC has on their schedule 2 games that could be dead weights in terms of statistical analysis. That's Notre Dame and Clemson. Because last year, you looked at that schedule, I don't think they played anybody that was really like a heavy hitter when it comes to defense. Clemson and Notre Dame are going to be real tough. They're going to be tough to move the ball on. That could really cause a dent in any sort of stat analysis that you're going to do. So that piece, I think, might even out the amount of passing yards that he gets. But I still think he's going to get a few more. And I think Lewis Bond will be one of the better wide receivers in the ACC. You know, maybe not the flashiest. He's not really a flashy wide receiver. He's just tough as nails. He does things that you want him to do. He gets those extra yards. He's hard. He gets hit. He blocks. He does all that kind of stuff. I think he's just going to take that next step, and he'll be a top 3 ACC wide receiver. Now, in terms of touchdowns, who do I think is going to lead the team in touchdowns? Is it going to be Lewis Bond? No. Is it going to be Reed Harris? Nope. BJ Wilkins? Nope. My prediction, Jeremiah Franklin. Now, there's the other site that we have, that not my site, but another site, is not a big fan of Jeremiah Franklin, which I think is kind of interesting, because I think Jeremiah Franklin's a very good player. Last year had 0 drops. 0. He and Kamari Morales together had 0 drops. Consistency and developing into a very good wide tight end. BC has, they're usually going to go with, they go a lot with 2 tight end sets. And I could see them doing that again with Franklin and Ty Lockwood next year. But I think the most consistent tight end, the one that they're going to continue to use the most, is Franklin. This is year 4. He's been a starter for 3.5 years. That first year he got thrown in. It was an injury to George Takis, I think. He came in, struggled a little bit, but by now he knows what he's doing. He's a valuable blocker. He's a valuable asset when it gets into that red zone area. I really do think Jeremiah Franklin's my pick. And, this one was a tough one, because I honestly also could see if Ty Lockwood just blows up and becomes this, really rich receiving tight end for you, he could do it. But I've just seen so much out of Jeremiah Franklin and so much consistency that it just seems to me that this will be his year to do that. So that's my prediction there. You know what? I'm going to give you a bonus tight end prediction too. I think Ty Lockwood is going to probably play quite a bit too. I think your 2 tight ends are going, and this is a no kidding AJ prediction, but I have Ty Lockwood at like 30 receptions this year. I think he's going to be a guy that they're going to use. And he's going to be consistently, like, I feel like BC, what we saw last year with Morales and Franklin, is going to be replicated with Lockwood and Franklin. You're going to have 2 tight ends that can do a whole lot, and both of them can be used as weapons. They can both be kept in as extra offensive linemen. I think Lockwood will definitely be that guy. And now, my final question, my final prediction for the wide receiver position. I did not make a prediction on VJ Wilkins. Last year I got burned hard on Jaden McGowan. I'm going to keep the transfer wide receivers off of my prediction list for a while because I thought he looked great, but we'll see. Well, I want to see that one before I make any predictions. My last prediction is on Reed Harris, and I have Reed Harris as my prediction to be the leader on the team in receiving yards. Now, you look at what he did at the end of last year. You look at what he became when, you had a quarterback that could not only get him the ball, but a coaching staff that knew how to use him. Because let's be frank, they were using him as a tight end for a while. They never really consistently used him as a wide receiver. Now, by the end of the year, they're like, oh, wow, we got this guy that can make incredible plays. He's big. He's strong. Let's use him more. And what does he do? He rips off big game after big game. His game log is crazy because for beginning of the year, for the first 8 or 9 games, he had 5 total receptions. In the last 4 games, he had 12 receptions and over 100, over 300 yards in those 4 games with 2 touchdowns. So I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what Reed Harris can do. Remember, this is a guy that came here as a quarterback who played tight end. This is his first real, I think, probably his first real camp where he is focused on being a wide receiver. Now, last camp he did that. Last summer he did do wide receiver work too, but he also did a whole bunch of other things. This is him as a wide receiver. When you can he's like your deep threat, and they use it when he gets open, they could be 30, 40 yards a catch there. That's the big difference between his yards per catch versus a Lewis Bond, who's going to get 10 or 11 yards. Reed Harris, he's going to get one for 30, 35. That's going to take 4 catches sometimes for Lewis Bond to catch up to him. So I think Reed Harris is a big time deep threat. And I think they're going to get him the ball, and there's going to be a lot of times where there's no cornerbacks that can stop him. Clemson, Notre Dame, they'll figure out how to slow him down. But there's a lot of the other teams out there, whether it's Syracuse or Pitt or some of these other teams, they're going to struggle. And Pitt struggled against him last year. We could see that again this year. I think that is my last prediction here. Reed Harris will lead Boston College in receiving yards. Now, I gave you 7 predictions. You go through them. Go put them in my comment section. Do you agree with me? Or do you have a prediction about something that you disagree with me on? AJ, I think that Dwayne Alex is going to be the starting center. I think VJ Wilkins is going to lead the team in receiving yards. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And I love to hear about all this good stuff because there's always great conversation in our YouTube comment section and on all our social media apps. So check that out as well. In a moment, I have 2 big game predictions that I want to give you. And I'm going to tell you one's a good one and one's going to make you tear your hair out. And I'll explain what those are in just a moment. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. And I want to make sure that you make Locked On Boston College your first listen every day. We are 25 minutes. It is perfect for a commute. Or if you're making lunch in the morning for your kids and you just want to get to your Boston College news in a nice, timely fashion, make us your first listen every day. And I hope you do. And if you need a second listen, check out Locked On ACC with Alex Dono, Kenton Gibbs. Great podcast about the Atlantic Coast Conference. You can find that on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Now, wrapping things up here. Let's look at the schedule. Not all my predictions I put up on Eagle Insider. Again, 40 of them. Go check those out. Not all of them are about statistics. I gave some predictions, and I gave you already what I think this season prediction is, and I'm not going to give it here. Sorry, guys. But I'll give you 2 game predictions I have. Let's start off with the negative one. Let's start off with the bad one that's going to make you tear your hair out. This is the one I teased a little bit about. And that prediction is the Connecticut game is going to be closer than you think. And I know a lot of folks don't want to hear that. And a lot of folks are going to get really angry about that. But I think that game is going to be closer than you think. Connecticut is not a bad team. They're not. As much as you want to hate UConn, they're not going to be a bad team. Jim Moore Jr. is a good coach. He already beat Jeff Hafley. I'm not saying that Bill O'Brien and him are in the same ballpark. I'm not saying that. But, they can put together tough games. That's all I'm saying here. I'm not predicting BC to lose to them. I'm saying my prediction is it's going to take some late game magic for BC to beat UConn. For a few reasons. UConn has some good talent on their team. Nick Evers, a former 4-star quarterback from Wisconsin, is now their starting quarterback. They've got, good running back and, some good guys around there. Ty Chan, if you remember him, a former Lawrence Academy offensive lineman that I thought a lot of folks, I think we even talked about it. They landed him in the transfer portal. So there's a lot of excitement around that team. They won, 9 games last year. They beat UNC in the Fenway Bowl. They're going to be tough, and they're going to treat that game like a Super Bowl. They always do. So it's going to be, you're going to have to be on your best to beat them. And I just don't see BC going in there and blowing them out. It could happen, but I'm leaning more towards this is going to be a closer game than folks are expecting, and that UConn is going to make this a miserable game for you as a fan, because all BC fans want for that game is for BC to go out there and smoke the Huskies. I just don't see it happening. So that's my prediction right there. Sorry, guys. I knew that was going to be one that you did not want to hear. My other prediction, and this is one that I've kind of stuck with since the schedule has come out. This is a good prediction, folks. This will wash the taste of the UConn nonsense out of your mouth. I promise you here. My prediction here. BC plays three. That's the number 3. 2024 college football playoff teams this season. All of them are at home. They play Clemson, Notre Dame, and SMU. All 3 teams went to the playoffs last year. I'm going to predict BC wins one of those games. I think they're going to win. And I will even go further to say, I think the team that they're going to beat is SMU. I think they're going to win that game. So I think that's going to be a high impact win for BC. I thought, you all watched the game last year, right? BC goes down to SMU, a team that was playing really, really well. They're blowing everybody out. What does BC do? They're down to their last possession with a chance to win the game. They just didn't have enough. Now, this game is going to be in Boston, at Chestnut Hill. It's a home game. I think BC will have that home field magic to win this. This is going to be tough. Kevin Jennings is a very good quarterback. SMU under Rhett Lashley, they're doing the right things. But I think BC could. This is a game where I have circled that I think the Eagles could win it. A good passing attack, keeping Kevin Jennings, contained enough later in the season when maybe your defense is starting to click a little bit more. This to me strikes me as a game BC wins. So that's my good prediction for the game. If you want my other, 30 predictions I made, maybe a little less, 25, go to Eagle Insider right now. Sign up, become a VIP. I have them all up there for you. I hope you enjoyed this. This was more of a prediction show, and I wanted to get into that because next week is the start of ACC Media Days, and that's kind of the kickoff of everything. So we have made it. If I could have confetti come down on us right now, I would do that because I'm so ready to dive into the camp and get ready for that beginning of that season. Because, man, Locked On BC is so much more fun when the season's going. And it's fun when it's off, too, but I'm just chomping at the bit to get there. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Get on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me at Eagle Insider on all of those. And I have a TikTok account. I hope you guys are on TikTok. I have fun doing it, and it's going to get even better on TikTok because I'm going to use it kind of like, I think my 2 big ones I want to use is YouTube and TikTok because video seems to be the easiest way to get you guys content. I'll be doing shorts now, so also into like quick little videos, not just clips of the show. Like if something happens, just nothing's happened in a while, I'll get on and do like a minute, clip. If you're on my TikTok at Locked On Boston College, you can get all that news. So hopefully you check that out. And make sure you follow us here, wherever you get your podcasts, and like and subscribe and tell your family and friends about us. It's the easiest way to get this podcast out to more people, more Boston College fans like yourself. So thank you very much. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.